Hey guys, JJ here. Welcome back for Saturday at Zoom Networking. Thank you so much for being with us. Today's guest speaker is an amazing young lady. She's out of Pace Morby Sub-2 community, one of the rising rock stars from coast to coast. Absolutely phenomenal person. Love her. My good friend Anne McNamara. Anne, how are you?
Great, thanks, JJ. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. I love talking to you. It's been a pleasure getting to know you as well. Hey, really quick, for those that don't know you, where in the country are you located?
I'm located in Florida, just near Jacksonville, St. Augustine.
Wow, beautiful part of the country. It's one of the spots I have been to. Let me ask you, we're going to talk about your topic today, which I find amazing, revitalizing towns, why and how. And I think what you do is so interesting. Let's really cut right to the chase here. So revitalizing towns, what does that mean? And in what role? I think, I'm in Los Angeles. Some of us are in really big cities, and some of us are in smaller, less congested parts of the country. Um, Tell us about revitalizing towns. How did that topic come to your awareness? I know it's become a passion of yours. Tell us about that.
Cool. So I spent a lot of the time I'm Irish, but I worked in the UK a lot, and I got into sort of city centre revitalisation mainly because I needed to buy buildings. I was working with homeless drug users. I set up a not-for-profit, and nobody wanted to house us, so we had to get good at buying buildings. And it was easy to buy them, but they were all falling apart. So we needed to work out how to fill that gap of the rehab gap. So we got kind of good at that. And then that eventually we started to work in big teams around revitalizing and eventually moved from cities to towns. And towns are harder to crack than cities. Cities are kind of self-healing. If you can kind of inject a few things into them, their ecosystem starts to rework. But with towns, there's more involved in the formula. It has to be connected to one of those big cities. It's very hard to work on very isolated towns. So I was involved in that, and then when I came to the States, I I was always in love with these sort of Americana towns, those lovely ones with the front facades that look like in the Westerns and the old gas stations with the two pumps at the front. And when I came, I was kind of like, I went to see stacks and stacks. I drove around loads of southern states and looked at so many towns, just every day was planning them out. And I was kind of horrified how many of them were just not not thriving. Um, so I got on with the rest of my life and all the rest. And then when I settled here, I thought I would like to see if I can do something with some small towns. So again, I really believe in research, and there are some formulas. You want to make sure that they're connected. I don't know, better people than me can probably crack very remote towns. I can't. Half decent leadership. It won't be great leadership because if it was great, it wouldn't be falling apart. So you need at least half of the commissioners to be okay, some decent leadership, a few other bits and pieces, and then architecture that interests you. Um, so I found one and I started working on that.
Are these houses more single family homes? Are they multifamily? Are they, you know,
I'm not I'm
I'm
not too interested in the single in the residential. It's the mixed use in the downtown. That's the bit that I like. I mean, I do flips and I do some other stuff on the side, but when I'm talking about small town revitalization, it's the downtown. Because I
okay.
think, yeah, without a heart, you don't really have a place. You have residentials are kind of places, but you really need that downtown to get that sense of place.
Wow. So are these sometimes more like commercial buildings?
Yeah, so they're your classic. Now that I've said it, you'll start to do this. Even when you're in anything other than a modern sort of strip mall, start looking up and you'll see that most of the space upstairs is wasted. It's either storage or it's empty. So the ground floor is retail or maybe dentist office or something like that. Upstairs is like, I don't know. That's where the value is. It's building your residential on top with your
Hmm.
commercial at the bottom. And what you're looking at as sort of a street level is let's get some good stuff in there. If you have really boring stuff, like dentist offices and real realtors offices. Nobody's coming to town like because they want to go to the dentist, they want to go to the realtor. They're coming there because they have to. So you want to have sort of cool, funky things on the ground floor.
Awesome. Um, so are there any particular places where you're doing this?
Yeah, so I haven't really cracked how to scale it for me. I don't know if I want to scale it. I want to work with people. So I'm working very closely with James, who's doing here on this call, James Press, who's doing his thing in Concord. I'm also working, James and I are working with another guy called Chad, who is doing this in Taylor's, in the Carolinas. And what you need is like people who know their stuff on the ground. And then we come together for things like how we fund it and questions of end use. End use is always a big deal. Who can we get to do the end use in mainly in the ground floor, and then what rents can I pull off on the top floors? That that's the sort of stuff we work on together. um but yeah, knowing your town and knowing everything that's moving, I think for me what I want to do is I want to get a few more buildings in this town and then leave some for other people and then I might move to another one. But it's more than just the buildings. I was telling somebody how much other stuff I do. They were like, how do you monetize that? I'm like, you can't. So we need to increase footfall in the town, foot traffic. So to do that, it's about events. So to do that,
Mhm.
you're towards the city and you're encouraging other people and you're trying to bring stuff together and you're trying to piggyback stuff. You're also talking to landlords who owners of buildings who are letting them sit there dilapidated and running down. You're trying to say to them, look, if you're sitting on this waiting for the fairy godmother to go and increase values, at least put something on the ground floor, put some art in there, put some decals on the windows. You're doing a lot of stuff to try and raise the vibe and raise the
Mhm.
energy, raise the foot traffic. So that's I don't think you can really do that at scale. You need to be working with people who are doing the same kind of thing.
So, as a property owner, I'm a property owner. I'm a landlord of commercial property. First thing I think of is if we want to go into communities and rehabilitate the town and
Mm.
refurbish the properties, the people that own these properties at the time, are they necessarily in distress looking to sell them, possibly creatively? Or are they owners that are very, very comfortable with the property the way it is and they don't have much desire to sell? In Los Angeles, there's a lot of distressed properties here that should be fixed up and rehabbed, and yet the owners sometimes are content, for lack of a better term, being slumlords. And
Yeah.
they don't want to sell it. They don't want to fix it up. I mean, do you encounter anything like that on occasion?
Yeah, big style. You do. You come across quite a lot of delusional people who bought buildings for like 60K. When they put them on the market and they put them on and off, they're looking for 1.2 million. So my tactic is I find plenty of enforceable issues and I go to the city and say, let's start enforcing them. Let's start making their life uncomfortable so they sell it for a decent level. You can't really do spot. I would never say go into a place and so that's where you need good leadership. So if you don't have a good city attorney, what they call like city attorney, I think you're just wasting your breath. I I point out loads of enforcement opportunities, and it's now part of the culture. I'm not saying I change that culture, but um, I'm not putting my hard-earned money into a place for some guy down the road to let his fall apart. We all
Yeah.
have the same problems. Our problems are we have 20 years of what's the posh phrase? Deferred maintenance is the nice
Yeah.
way of 20 years of buildings with zero investment falling apart. Well, I want to be the only agent who's putting my money in. I want other people to put their money in. And if they have to be encouraged to at least resolve the structure, then or sell to somebody who will put their money in, then I'm all for it.
Now, do you find certain locations, cities, counties are seeing, in California, we have a term gentrification, and where the younger folks are coming into distressed neighborhoods and they're doing this with multi-housing, single-family homes, and commercial stores. Do you find it's more prevalent in certain parts of the country, or is it pretty? Are the opportunities pretty much everywhere?
I think um if you're because I'm sort of known now for doing this, and I'm sure James finds the same. You get approached by lots of people saying, I've got this great building or I've got this great thing. The first thing I always say, I went to a lot of towns. This town's only 25 miles away from where I live, but I went to a lot of towns, and you really have to do the digging. It's one thing to fall in love with the architecture, um, but you won't get gentrification. People don't understand what goes on. To be allowed to be gentrified, you have to have sewage expansion to where you've gone. Nobody in the city gets the credit for that, or the county. Somebody's done sewage expansion. Somebody's done water expansions. We're off septics and wells. Somebody's done maintenance for the roads, done all that kind of stuff. So it's happening because there is some leadership. If you have lousy leadership, and it again, I reinforce, you will not have amazing leadership because those cities don't tend to have that sort of problem. Then do not go there. If you have loads of dysfunctional community stuff, like we went to, I won't say where it is because it might fix itself, but I wouldn't invest there in a million years. The leadership was so bad that all the community groups were trying to fix things, and I'm like, God love you guys, but you can never you can never do what City Hall needs doing. You will spend a lifetime being a community activist. I do plenty of community activism, but I can't do what I need to do without that leadership. So
Hmm.
gentrification is happening because of a lot of invisible things under the surface.
Wow, sounds like there's just so many spinning parts there, so many moving parts, as they say, spinning wheels, moving parts. I guess we've had distressed buildings forever, so I guess this is something that's not really new, but you're doing this creatively with creative finance.
Yeah, some sell of finance. I there's a building that I keep picking up and putting down because that I would have a great deal going, which would be zero down. But I've got a bit of a problem with an SBA loan that I can't find a creative way around. Oh, well, I can find a creative way around it, but I don't really want it. But yes, that's a big part of it. I'm sure it's the same as other places, but a lot. I'd love to do like a workshop with all these small town owners and go, guess how you value buildings? You take your income, you give it a cap rate, you multiply it and equal, here's your answer. We can put some uplift for some other stuff, but you can't just get out of bed in the morning and go, my building's worth a million.
Yeah.
Why? Because I put 10 years of my life or 20 years or I bought it for whatever, and your your building is not worth, it's not going to appraise at anything like that. So sometimes that can be accommodated where you can say, okay, how about you get this money now, and but creative is definitely a great solution.
Frank, you're all there. What's your question?
My question is, what size of town are we talking about? How big is a town? And I have a second question, which is, do your proposals generally involve, say, a tax increase, which would lead the people to kind of resist what you're wanting to do?
I'll answer the second. I need to ask you another question about the second question, but the towns, if I'd have known, so this is what I found out after doing it, is many investors don't want to invest in towns with under 25,000. And this is something that James and Chad and I have all found issues with. So my town has about 17,000, but that is all new to me because my whole success criteria was being within about 40 minutes travel distance from major Mets. That was enough in my old life to make everything work. But this is a new criteria. We found a workaround. Tax increases, yes, you do get tax. The only tax increase is your new ARV post rehab. But that's just to the individual building. There's no tax increase to the local property taxes because of some demand that you have on money. And there's a load of stats, no demand you have on them doing something. So I don't know if I understand the question. but there's a load of stats around how dense dense development generates way more tax than all this sprawling development, way less maintenance of roads and sewage and all that kind of stuff. So there's so much for a town to get behind these sort of mixed use downtown higher density buildings.
What I was really thinking about was that if you're selling something like new sewer or expanded sewer to the city fathers, that there might be resistance in the town because those infrastructure changes would require a tax, more taxes, and so they might
Um,
be resistant to that.
so I have advantage no one else does. The mayor's married to my cousin.
That works.
So, um, and township supervisor is a good friend of mine. So, I have I have a luxury of being able to negotiate things based on a conversation that says, this is what I'm providing to the community.
Frank, did that answer your question?
Somewhat, I guess I'm not sure if
Okay, Frank,
in your case it
continue
sounds like
on.
you got it covered, but in a more generic case, would it be harder to sell the changes to the city?
I tell you what, I don't want to be pitching to cities about infrastructure outlay.
Right,
I want them to tell
right.
me that they're doing it. So when you go to downtowns, at least downtowns are on mains, sewer and water.
Yeah.
But so no, tax increases isn't, you tend to be very, very welcomed because everybody kind of wants to do this. There's not that many downsides to you doing this. And what it mainly does is it gives people confidence that some weirdo thinks that their town has got something going for us. So, if you're putting money in and you're not sort of questioning yourself every 5 minutes and you're plodding on with your development, they go, oh, okay, it's just that confidence thing. And
Mhm.
so I try and find towns where I think there is nothing wrong with you. Like you just have you've just got your own craziness in your own head that makes you think that there's something wrong with this town. There's nothing wrong with it. Then you start investing and then James will have this. Oh, I was thinking of doing that. Oh, I was going to buy that building. And then you watch it gradually you start to see people putting their hand in their pockets.
So there's probably an antiquated resistance, but ideally, if the owners, now, are we dealing with convincing the owner of the property, or the town itself is generally open to the refurbishment, correct? The town is more than open, happy to see
Oh
these
yeah.
get
No,
approved.
it depends, Jay-Z. It's like I live in a town of 1,200 people, and I have people saying, well, if we approve the town, then all the big corporations are going to come in. I'm like, that's not going to happen. I'm like, I don't want to change my small town, Concord, Michigan. I don't want to change it into a big town, but I want to improve it. I want to bring it back to what it was in the 70s and 80s when I was a kid growing up here, where
Mhm.
every storefront had a business in it. Every house was occupied, things like that. So what I do is I buy downtown properties that are abandoned. I buy houses that are abandoned, and I renovate them, flip them. And my goal, because I'm an investor and I'm flipping them, I can control who comes into that community. And I want to bring new families or young families that went out from my small town. They went out and said, we're going to go out here because we don't want to live here. I bring them back. For me personally, I don't have to deal with it like Ann does because the mayor's married to my cousin and township supervisor is a good friend of mine. So
But so that and that's probably something that you're aware that
Frank,
exists.
I don't think there's a tax problem from a individual investor si- situation. I am probably going to pursue tax credits as well and look for like a property tax amnesty. I've already talked to them about it. So on the grant side, I put in for a CRA grant and got a 25,000 construction loan and a 200,000 rehab. So that's good. And on a tax side, I said, look, I'm bringing the taxes up from unpaid for the last 3 years from left to its own devices, it'll go up from 2K to about 8K a year. I'm like, guys, come on, give me a break here. And you can negotiate that. There's routes to negotiate that. So that's what I would be looking for in a town. Like give me a like a 6 year break from increased taxes. And they tell you how to do it. I'm not there yet because it hasn't been revalued, but when it has, that's what I will do.
Are you guys actively working as partners together, Ann, or just on one particular project, or just doing the same thing in two different cities?
We're doing the same thing in two different cities, but the biggest barrier that we found is about this. Let's say you get Gator money for whatever it is you're doing, and then you want to DSCR it or you want to refi. It's very hard because of the that we won't even underwrite it in towns less than 25,000.
Okay.
So that's where we've started, and we're going to be launching it around Squat Up.
Well,
Um,
are you guys working as a team in the same LLC is what I'm getting at?
no, not yet. We're seeing how it emerges. We've only sort of started to work on this together, but we to crack this financing thing, we might do. We've
Okay.
just started to work out how to crack it through
Okay.
fracture.
I'm just trying to clearly understand where the connection is because I understand you guys are about the commonality and have got to know one another and I didn't understand that, oh my gosh, we've got James Ann's partner. I didn't even know he was her partner and get him on. So I think I'm understanding that you're more, doing the same thing, but as two different entities. And you've come to know one another and you guys are helping one another. Is that
Yeah, so I ran a workshop just before Christmas and it attracted some really great people. Kelly Carver, of course, was the most amazing helper. Kelly and Rod, just, talk about relationships, guys. Like this is what is amazing. Kelly, I think approached me and I didn't believe that she really meant it. I mean, I thought she'd help, but in that
well,
sort of
you know
way.
what? Let's bring Kelly on. She's here right now. Hey Kelly.
Hey, yeah, I love, love, love Anne. We had such a great time. So I'll tell you, Anne is a visionary, and Rod and we bring the wheels. So she has the grand ideas, and we come up in the background and help her achieve that.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah, we had a great time and developed such a beautiful friendship and really enjoyed working with Anne and all the people in the room, including James. James is just like 40 minutes from us here in Michigan.
Yeah, we got a couple of Michigan people on the call. All right. Well, I just definitely wanted to get you guys introduced and understand how you guys are all working together, and I think that's awesome. If we may, I'm gonna move us along to the next question, guys. Money Rob, you're on with Ann. What's your question?
Hey, JJ. Hey, Ann. How you doing? Nice to meet you.
Hey, lovely to meet you.
Hey, so this is all new to me. So this whole revitalization of towns. So explain it to me really simply. If I had to bird dog and do this from afar, would I be reaching out to say like a city manager to potentially find the pain to then go after the revitalization?
So you want a bird dog for who? For yourself?
Like, no, well, not for myself. If, like I said, just to see opportunity. If I
Yeah.
found a town that looks like it has potential or what have you, obviously we have to start and find the pain first, right? See if there's want or need there, correct?
So what you want to, I have a whole checklist. I can send you that whole checklist of things you need to check out. It's like keep on talking about leadership. You have a useless town planner, you're in trouble. So for example, I got 3 apartments out of my development, 3 apartments, one retail. If he was literal about how the ordinances were done, I would have got I would have been entitled to 0.3 of an apartment. That's how, and 6 parking spaces. So he managed to help work out because he's well educated. So I've got a checklist of all these kind of things. The main thing you want to work out is the town still viable? There are lots of towns that you just have to give up on. Well, you and I have to give up on. We're not government. Um, so what I now look for, so what I did in my first deal that I won't do again, well, not for a long time, is I had to do a full rehab from end to end. It's so cash heavy, and it's really hard to refi. So what I'm looking for my second deal, and this is something that I would tell everybody to go and get, is an existing cash flowing business building that's underperforming. And I have one next door to me, which is my model. Underperforming because most of the times they don't actually put the residential on Zillow or anything like that when they're renting them out. It's just word of mouth. People literally come and knock on the door and say, have you got any apartments? They're probably not charging utilities. It can be like month to month rental. It's all very casual. Downstairs isn't performing. So it's nice buildings that are generating something. As long as they're cash flowing something, we can rehab in phases while still bringing the money in, instead of having to close the place down and build from the ground up and then, cross your fingers to get the money back in.
Oh, that's great. Let me ask you, how does that reference? I mean, because you're saying you can have residential on top and retail below, correct?
Yes. On the
Okay,
down in
is that referred to as a pad split, or what's that called?
Oh no, that's mixed use development. It's
Mixed use development.
traditional
Okay.
mixed use development. It's a pain in the ass because insurance companies hate it and everybody hates it. But just ignore that for the moment. This is how all towns were. This is what made towns work. And most of the time, now that I've said it, just start looking up when you're in these downtown streets and you can see like they're underoccupied. These are really juicy. Really, really juicy, especially if the town's got a bit of life. We want to be bringing sort of youth renters into those areas where they don't need cars and they can walk down the road. If you have a useless, I'll send my checklist out. If you have a useless city planner, see, I always think a city planner can outmaneuver the paid official, the elected officials, if they're well educated. So you want a well educated city planner, they will outmaneuver the elected officials because they believe in high density. High density equals reduced taxes and it increases the life in the town. So you don't want lots of car parking spaces. There's no money in it for us to provide car parking spaces. You want as max out the density that the usage of that building. So it's
Got it. So city planner needs to be my best friend, correct?
he does, and you need to I literally check out their education. I go, where did you go to college? What, I don't want any two-bit hacks. I want guys who really love this kind of stuff and really want to see downtown do their thing. Because there's rules about these that nobody talks about, and it's high density, mixed use, F the car parking. That, I know America's addicted to cars, but it destroys downtowns. And all those urban areas out there, that's somebody else's problem.
Eric, you're on with Anne. What's your question?
Hey, we do like commercial strip malls and stuff like that. So it's kind of sort of like what you're doing. But our biggest burden is getting zoning and permits approved. And what impact does that do with working cities? Like for certain cities that aren't good at that, we just like call them like flyover cities. From that aspect, because we'll just like, okay, Long Beach, the permits are one day. You just go in there, boom, done, and you walk out. Laguna Beach, oh, we won't look at them for a year. Okay, we won't do anything in the city. And it's just each city's so different, and zoning is huge. Sometimes you can meet with the mayor and they can throw zoning ahead of you before you come in. And as far as what's the turnaround on your permits and stuff, because you can have all the financing in the world, but if you can't get it past first base, it's very difficult.
Well, zoning is easy to sort out because you can see it, and then you have some question marks, and then you talk to your head of planning, your zoning planning guy, and you get the vibe, and then you know whether you have a mate or not. Permitting is much harder because everyone moans about permitting, say, oh, they're crap, they're terrible, they're useless, but you don't know until you're actually putting permits in. So I have found them to be okay. My problem has been performance on our side, not performance on their side. I've found them to be very quick turnaround, and I suspect that they're not as fastidious as they could be. I mean, looking at some of our stuff that they've let by, I'm like, really? You're okay with this? So I like that because I'm thorough. I will do a good job. But yeah, I think permitting is really hard because you can't believe what you hear all the time because everyone just said nobody has anything positive to say about permitting. Um, and you don't really know until you're putting in. So yeah, I can't help much on that front, but zoning and planning is very easy to interpret. It's there. It'll tell you whether they're allowing what you're doing.
Okay, so you're not looking at changing the zoning from, two-story or three-story, versus the zoning's already there, so you're taking advantage of existing zoning and upgrading the buildings and that sort of stuff.
Exactly, but this is a bit too technical. It'll be really boring, so I'm going to shorten it. But the way the zoning rules were written, it it meant that my footprint only allowed me to do the 0.3 of an apartment and provide a load of car parks. The way the zoning guy encouraged me to interpret them was if we do a density plan and we count everything within a mile and we divide it by that, you will get basically he just helped me increase the density massively because he was helping me reinterpret the zoning rules. And the elected officials are never going to go, oh, actually, we meant something else. I was cool, he was cool, and I paid for the study. It was only about $300 to actually go and do a mile. It was X amount per hectare. You had to prove if you could prove that you had X amount of car parking spaces per hectare, X amount of units per hectare, you could argue something different. You could change how you evaluated how many units you could get on. That's why that building, if I'd have known, if I'd have read everything properly and I recognized that that was a risk, I should never have bought it. But thank God for the head of planning and zoning because I'm back being profitable again.
Yeah, so much depends on the city and if they're
Yes.
engaged, and I've had a lot of success with mayors and stuff, is getting to talk to them about their city, and because they implement plans and stuff, but sometimes the plans work so slow through the permitting process that they're already out of office, and then the new mayor just says, I want to do something different.
Yeah, exactly. And getting getting the planning permit first, planning and zoning permit. I think that's a big thing. And then it's the building permits that I've found to be heartbreaking.
Are you like looking for like whale investors and stuff to invest in your properties and you have returns and stuff like that? Or do you like do the art of the deal type thing where you pre-sell the apartments on top and rent them when we're built? I'll take the unit and you get a commitment letter or something. Is that how you look at the? Because you're absolutely right. Most of the people want to invest in cities that are under a certain thing, and that's the biggest thing. But a whale investor will look at the return and stuff like that. Versus, is that how you're looking at at getting people involved in your deals?
Yeah, well, so myself, James, and Chad have all just sort of discovered fractional. So we're like, does anybody know about fractional? It's a sort of a peer lending. Everybody come and give us your 401k money and your IRA stuff, and we will give you X. You become our secondary lender. So so that's route one. Route two would be we would love like a long-term investor that would go, look, this is the town we're going to do. So in the towns I used to work in the UK, the growth rates over 5 years were just like off the charts. The first 3 or 4 years, well, maybe 2 or 3 years, you weren't seeing it. But as the momentum built up, it's momentum and focus and density. I don't mean density of activity. So to have a whale investor that would say, look, get behind me for like 5 years. These are the buildings that I want. This is what I think I can do with it. This is where I think the town is going to be going on. The more I invest, the more other people feel confident investing. I bring up my buildings bring up the overall value. The town comes up. Few other little formula like event-based marketing and other such stuff. We got a town resolved. Then let's move on, or stay in for longer. But yeah, we would love whale investors.
Yeah, it seems like a good thing for them because not only do that is that they get to give back too. That's sometimes a lot of, and they don't have to do any work. So that's the big thing. So yeah.
Now, guys, let me ask a question. Are these whale investors generally investing in their own community? Or are they investors that invest in different parts of the country and this might not be happening where they're living?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know any whale investors.
Yeah.
I only know of whales.
I think the hardest part is getting other people. It sounds like it's new to me, but it's not new. It's obviously, their towns have been around for decades, hundreds of years, and revitalizing parts of the community for the benefit of all is something that's beyond important. It's just a matter of getting not only, the city people to work with us, but the landlords to work with us so that, people like Anne can make these opportunities happen. Eric, did we answer your question?
Yes. Thanks for being incredible. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Always good to see you. Naomi, you are on with Anne. What's your question?
Hi, Anne. I am very interested in mixed use businesses. I'm trying to locate opportunities logistically to open up some holistic treatment centers. And I love the idea of having the apartments for restorative health programs, short to long term. Now, what are the type of logistical infrastructure type things should I really assess when I'm looking at the right location?
So the town, you want connectivity, so within 40 minutes of somewhere big enough. You want half decent leadership, you want a decent planner guy, and you want lots of owner occupiers, business users, so that there is some life and investment in that town. There's a few other bits and pieces, but that's good enough to go on. And building wise, you just fall in love with this first time around, but bring a structural engineer second time around. You want to make sure that you don't have to spend a fortune on structures because not being invested in, it often needs that. And then the rest is just normal rehabby kind of stuff. And you want it depends what my appraiser reckons I'm going to get more for the ground floor than I will for the apartments. I don't think so. I don't know where you got that from. I'm expecting to get more from the apartments than the ground floor. So you'll have to work that out locally.
And how do you get to know the city leadership when you get into a new area that you might not know much about?
You have no shame, and you literally walk up to City Hall and you say, "Who's the head of this? Who's of this?" The mayor. She also has a store, and she has, because part-time mayors, and she has a realtor business. So I went to see her many times in her store before and she told me all the commission is split between 50% don't want to change, 50% who do, and so I got the lowdown. The other thing I spent a lot of time in was in and out of stores, checking them out.
Thank you, Naomi. Always good to see you. You're on with Anne. What's your question?
Thank you. Hi, Anne. My name is Michelle, as you know. This last summer, I went and drove along the coast of Texas, as I mentioned to you, a desire to see that changed. And there's a lot of small towns along there. And I met with a variety of the people. I went around from house to house talking to the people in the area and talking to some of the stores in the area and things. And I just noticed I was along the coastline of Texas, which I'm just used to Florida. So, naive girl, I just thought everything was as big as Florida is, especially when you talk about Texas being so big. I'm just curious your take on when you consider the whole coastline needs to be revamped. I guess because there's so many small towns that are just, the roads are rough and the boat launches look sad, and you know what I mean? Like there's just a lot of things. And I know that like when I talked to one guy, his wife was on the board, and they were trying to change things there. So I guess I'm just curious, like, would it be just a matter of the information you have, the checklist, or is there a certain area that you would start with when you're considering such a large area as, a good portion of the coastline? There'd be like a, focus in there, I guess.
No, I hear what you're saying. You're saying, can you really make impact when it's just a little place, when the whole place needs sorting out? And this is what I would say is that's a governmental level requirement. So all the stuff that we don't see, like the roads, the maintenance of the roads, I'm going to get this wrong now. It's either did a presentation on it's either $15 million a mile for a 4-lane suburban highway, or it's $4 million a mile, and huge maintenance cost. So, that's not on us. And the same with, so what I would say is people who are attracted to revitalization have got really giving souls. And it's very easy to fall in love with places, and it's very easy to sort of feel for people in like, oh, if only I could buy that woman out of that cafe. She's 72, she's old, she doesn't, be really, really thoughtful about it. You put on your own oxygen mask first before helping others. If you're an heiress and you have loads of money, then have fun revitalizing anything and helping people. But if you need to make it work, be really thoughtful and just make sure it fits into those rules. So I don't know the Texas coastline at all, but if it's a load of little towns without a major town to sort of support it, for me, that would be a little bit of a red flag. I don't know the area, but I would be a little bit worried about that.
I know when they moved the railroad, that then when they moved it over to Victoria, that kicked out the finances that were coming in to the shore areas. And so I know that made a difference. So it may be a government thing, and maybe I need to look that direction, because everybody was pretty friendly and did want to see changes. And we had good conversations about like how certain people go from Houston down there for their getaways, and they wanted to have people that would service them, which is why certain areas were small. And as ugly as that sounds, that was the case. And yet, like, there were some other areas that was not the case. And so it may be something that I could start calling the government and talking to them. I guess I didn't really even think about that. I just thought it was really sad that there was such a major section of the ocean that was just like looking like that. So yeah. So if you have more ideas, or maybe we can hop on the phone separately or something, I just would really love to make a difference and utilize American soil, especially near the ocean. So thanks.
I'm looking at books behind me, and I think if you're serious about this, I would really get yourself educated about the economics of small towns. So there's a couple of good books like Strong Towns, and it's really simple. These towns worked when they had direct road and rail transport. When the roads moved to the freeway that were sort of avoiding the towns for lots of good reason, it killed some towns, it didn't kill others. When railway reduced, it's the same thing. Biggest problem is sort of the big box stores and all those kind of things sort of leeching the lives out of small town stores and that kind of stuff. But there's, I would recommend anybody who feels we got to watch the rescuer gene in us all. I think this is a really good book about the empowerment dynamic. It's about being more aware of when we're trying to rescue things. Because when you go into this world, you can really go down. It's not a rabbit hole. It's a deep spiritual learning path of trying to rescue places that it's not your business to be rescuing. And I'm not saying it isn't your business. I'm just saying be aware, because there's some things that is, is it God's job, somebody else's job, or my job? That's the hardest thing in life. Sometimes it's just somebody else's job. And getting federal funding to do road pavements and sewage and like mother of God, that's a lifetime worth of work.
And as we discussed, as you touch on that, there are obviously ideal places to do the small town revitalization. As you said, one of the requirements is being within a decent proximity of a major metropolis to provide commerce. But if, there are obviously scenarios that are not as ideal. And if they get further and further away from a major financial metropolis, it minimizes the economy to some extent, would it not, to support those areas, maybe making it less likely of an opportunity to go into?
Yeah, I mean, just remember that we are investors, and what we're bringing is powerful enough. And I do way more than your traditional investor with, events. I'm trying to do a Christmas market. I'm trying to do, we did all these like little things about doing up people's windows and sort of trying to encourage stuff and trying to give people a bit of other developers, other investors, a bit of FOMO. And that's like, when every half day is a half day you could be underwriting a fix and flip, it's an investment. But I am not an heiress. I cannot. That little town that I really got in love with, I can't go in there and fix it. That's not my job, even though I would love to. So
Right. Well, I
yeah.
think people would like to, I noticed in the notes that people would like to have a quick picture of that side of all those books that you have there, or any favorite books that you've had. Someone mentioned something about wanting to see all the different books and
That's the book right
which were your
there.
favorite.
This is not a real estate book. This is a book that I have had to read and reread because of the whole like it's victim, rescuer, persecutor dynamic, and turning that into the creator dynamic. Because if you are that way inclined, which is I really want to help people, I want to make things better, you can find yourself in this horrendous dynamic of I've come in to rescue them. They say they want rescuing. Oh no, they don't really. They're all really mad with me because I keep making them change things. So they're persecuting me. Oh, I'm really annoyed with them, so I'm going to take my toys home. Oh, they feel persecuted now because I haven't followed through on what I said. And we stay in this dynamic. You want to find someone that's up for the challenge with you. So yeah, that's it.
I love that. Thank you. Do you have any specific books for small town revitalization as well that are in that pile behind you there?
This one is the easiest read, and it's just a bit short of solutions, but you can sort of work out the solutions from that. This one is again, it's this so this is one thing worth educating yourself on small town stuff, because you just be aware of this. And then that is the walkable city. And this one is parotid. This is the rescuer thing. Just that's kind of heavy. But
well, and I do think that you labeled me pretty well, and I am someone that definitely likes to go and help out as many people as I can. So thank you so much for your support towards me, as well as all that you shared. I know there's other people, especially in Naomi Homes, that would love to connect.
Oh, you're very welcome. The type of town revitalization I am talking about here, it's called incremental. So it's sort of small thing by small thing, as with buildings and a bit of city pride and all this kind of stuff, which is what this guy advocates. I am not in a position. When I was in the UK, it was often federal or state led, and that would have been much more like I don't even know the word for it anymore because I've never participated in it, which is just sort of project led. Look, we're going to put in a new stadium, and that's going to sort everything out. We're going to put in a 400 unit something or other. We're not in that business. At least I'm not, and that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about picking little things, improving them, taking a long-term view on it.
Ryan McNamara, you are on with Anne McNamara.
Hey, Ryan.
Hey, Anne, how are you? Nice to meet you. So you answered part of my question already, just like why figuring out why the town died and how it can compete with like big box stores like a Walmart moving in just outside of town. But I guess my question now is, are you trying to bring back traditional type businesses like stuff you would see back in the 70s and 80s, the stuff that really wouldn't still compete with the Walmart type stores, or is there new type of stores and businesses or whatever that could move downtown that would thrive in the central area now?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I think towns have got to be able to market themselves. So they have got to come up with a theme. And one of the most successful revitalized towns around here is Savannah. And if anyone's been to Savannah in the last 10 years, they'll go, oh, it's great, wonderful, it's gorgeous. I went there 27 years ago and it was tumbleweed.
Hmm.
And I remember looking, thinking, God love these guys. I don't know how they'll ever bring this place back. And SCAD, which is the local Savannah College of Art and Design, just did incremental improvement, bought this building for this function, bought this building for another function, and they were the sort of catalyst for that change. And Savannah is where you go if you have taste, you want quirky stuff, a bit arty. Obviously they had the beautiful architecture. They had the beautiful architecture 27 years ago, but they brought that vibe. So, and that's what's really hard. You can't control it. You can just contribute to it. And if you control it, you get back into this dynamic. It's of like upsetting yourself and everybody else. So what I want to do, but I have no entitlement to this. This is in my little fantasy head. What I want to do in Palatka, in the town I'm doing, is I want it to represent real trades and real makers and real stuff, and not this plastic crap that we all are fed as stuff, because it has like furniture fixers and stuff like that. And yeah, we still all go to Walmart, but we then come into the town for entertainment and experience. And in that experience, we're buying things that we can't get in Costco and Walmart and everything else, because it doesn't need the footfall of Walmart. Most of these businesses need to be doing about, I don't know, 15K a month in revenues. So, Walmart would be making that in an hour. So, it's about trying to find its identity, and that's about attracting the right end users on the ground floor.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, I love it. I love what you're doing and appreciate it. Thanks for answering my question.
Nice to finally meet you, Ryan.
Yeah.
I've seen the same loads.
There you go,
Same.
Ryan. Thank you so much for being here today. Cynthia Ware, you're on with Anne McNamara.
Thank you for being here and bringing this topic. I got a couple statements to make and then kind of a question. So when you said Savannah, you're talking about Savannah, Georgia?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't even look at Savannah, Georgia as being a small town.
No, you're
So
right. It's not really.
no, it's and I wouldn't even look at Savannah. I don't know how far you was back saying you touched it, right? But I wouldn't even look at Savannah. I lived there 2009, 2008, working there. And I wouldn't even looked at it really as a town that needed a whole lot of help for its downtown, right? Because when I was there, it had a developed waterfront. They had already invested a lot of money inside that area. But anyway, some of the things that you were talking about, the gentleman James, familiar with Michigan, and most people know kind of like Detroit. And around COVID, I had an opportunity to walk like I'm here in Brunswick, Georgia, like to walk with you. because you're not far from me, right? But anyway, I got a chance to walk with these two ladies that I had met at a meetup in Rochester, Michigan. Is a small town
Yes.
that, yes, that you could do what you said you do. Rochester, Michigan is about 8 minutes if you jump on the freeway from Detroit. Detroit got the big old downtown blooming because they done revitalized it. But I remember Rochester when I was a kid. My parents took me to it, and it was just a blah. I mean, it was just a blah. But when this couple, these two girls I met, ladies I met, and one of them had a project with a partner, and they had bought. I was told this was called hybrid, commercial downstairs, upstairs. They was converting the whole length of the upstairs to 4, and they was going to be high dollar apartments.
Yeah.
And it was, and okay, so somebody was asking about, well, how you get the know what to do and to get the property. Well, how they got the property is they network. They got a chance to talk to the owner who was 88. It came from his family, this little hybrid upstairs, and they never used the upstairs.
Yeah.
But they were already converting the upstairs. I got a chance to see it. They had already had multiple relationships with the city manager, little town city manager. So you got to go to the development meetings, right? You gotta get comfortable with the lieutenant mayor saying, let's go to lunch. You got to put yourself in front of the inspector office saying, what you guys doing today? You gotta stop by there. You stop by. It's not always I need something from you. What you guys doing for lunch? I'm sending some Panero to you or whoever, right? So you got to get to know it. But it is a challenge for us. I like your topic because it's been on my heart. This thing that you're talking about, it's been on my heart. But the town got to be small, right? The town got to be small and kind of ugly and raggedy. But is there that government structure, infrastructure there that is going to allow you, when you get your money involved, it can create something. There's something that could be created there or built upon. But what I don't hear is, and this becomes a challenge, the money. How you touch on the money, how you build the money structure around that.
Yeah, that's the most challenging part of it. Because this 25,000 population nonsense, that was a real spoke in the wheel, all these institutions who don't want to do it. So, we're cobbling money together from all over the place. I've taken the GC. I haven't done the GC route because that's adding 50% to the cost. So it's all self-managed, which is very interesting with all the permits. And then where's my what I consider a secondary market? Where's my refi market? Oh, it's not there. So, there's workarounds to everything. You just sort of have to wake up every morning and go, oh, look, a new challenge. Yeah. We'll work it out because, nothing stays the same forever. And this whole fractional thing is a real opportunity to get grassroots funding to say, look, do you want to make 11% for the next X amount of years because this can produce it? Do you want to be an alternative to, this institution, this DSCR funder who will give you 30% because we can't underrate it, and I don't know, and get me another appraisal. Okay, guys, it's not rocket science. These are not $20 million buildings. Just get over yourself. Oh, look, we have small people who want to do it. That's where we're at the moment.
Mm-hmm. So some of that DSCR won't go in the little small towns. They won't. Nope. They won't put their money there. Okay. Thank you very much for your presentation. I'm passionate to it and I love it. But you close to me. Jacksonville, I'm in Brunswick. I'm 50 minutes from you. We got to love to hook up with you maybe in Fernandina Beach or something.
Yeah, definitely. That'd be
You
great.
definitely catch up. Yeah, no, you both are wonderful. Cynthia, thank you so much for your question. And at the end, we'll ask Anne the best way to reach out to her for those that want to connect with her. So please, hang on for the end. Thank you so much, Cynthia. Naomi Holmes, you are on with Anne McNamara. What is your question?
Hi, Anne. I hate to sound like a broken record, but I absolutely love what you're doing. I'm so grateful that you're here because I know you had did an interview somewhere else and they had some technical difficulties and we didn't get to get on that live. So I've been tracking you since then. Okay. And so we get to see your lovely face here. And this is the best place to be interviewed anyway, if I might be a little partial there. But so I feel like Ryan in the sense that you've answered a lot of my questions and just going through what it is that you do. But I guess I still have a couple. When you say you're restoring these buildings, you're not looking at those properties that are missing a wall, right? Or a roof that's like really going to take a lot of work to bring it back together. You're looking for properties that are essentially put together where they just have underused space. Am I right about that? Or do you get into those like big projects?
Well, I accidentally got myself into one of those big projects.
Yay! Okay, exciting.
So it was not intentional, huh?
No, because I was a complete ageist. Because I should have brought a structural engineer to the many meetings I had, seducing the owner to sell it to me creatively. But I would just have more sense next time. When it's block built, I think, oh, I know what I'm doing. Block built is fine. But I needed a new roof, needs to rip out everything, no wiring, no plumbing, no nothing. I can handle all that. Structural, it needed a lot of modification. But second, if I was starting off again, I would say find a compact building where the four walls and the roof are in half decent shape, and ideally, like find an underperforming mixed use building or you don't want to be buying into a one story thing with a cafe in it because you're buying a business. Not much you can do with it. Find stuff with upstairs. Like now when I go back to Ireland and I look at the amount of underuse upstairs, it drives me insane because I just see it everywhere.
Yeah,
and
you look at real estate differently now.
Yeah, exactly. So if you can find that and then get up there and look at the rehab, because it obviously depends on what your rental levels are.
Right. So I'm actually taking on a gargantuan task. I'm doing Gary, Indiana. And so when I found out about you, oh yes. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. This is what I love about. This is what I love about what I've heard from you so far. I've been barking up the right tree. Okay. Listen, I know. And I heard what you said when you talked about that book, right? You got to be careful about the energies and things that you're going to have to navigate, when you're dealing with politics, right? Because there's always some stuff going. This city has been a tumbleweed city for 60 years, and it's partially by design, right? And so when you're fighting those type of forces, right? But we've had a new mayor for a year.
Yes.
I don't know if you know about the new mayor. Okay. Okay. So there's a lot of money coming into Gary right now. We had the School of Notre Dame's architecture department come down here and do the charrette and all of that type of stuff. They talked about the architecture they want to see. And I've been collecting puzzle pieces for the past year from suppliers of tiny houses and modular houses and just all these different types of things. I went to all the city planning meetings when they were talking about changing the zoning and everything. So they appear very pliable right now. And the other day, the mayor had a Love Your Block meeting at the local university. And I went there and I pulled his coattail. And I was like, hey, I've been wanting to meet you. Gave him my little spiel, about all the things that I've been doing. And I said, where are you wanting to concert your efforts, right? I want to swim with the stream. And he told me which areas he was targeting. And there's a whole rollout of which neighborhoods they're going to do in what, order and so forth. And so now I'm like, I know exactly where to start. But like you said, it's not just one particular type of property that you're dealing with when you're taking on a city like this. As you know, the density in the downtown area of Gary is really, really bad. There's a lot of architecture there, but most of it is half there.
Naomi, thank you so much. Dax, you're on with Ann. What's your question?
Hey, Anne, thank you so much for doing what you're doing. I've been following you. I know that you have a workshop in September. Do you have, are you thinking of having it virtual as well? Because I think we can't wait till September. I think you need to have one sooner. But yeah, thank you for what you're doing.
Oh, thank you, Dax. Yeah, no, I've had to rethink this workshop malarkey because it's an awful lot of work. And I think we need to do something virtual
Yeah,
that's just like a sort of a once every 2 weeks or something like that, about like exactly what Naomi was talking about. Like um this is what brought myself and James and Chad together. We did a workshop. I did a workshop. The guys came and we were like, we're facing the same things in different towns, exactly the same things. So, when you do loads of social media, you get blowback from, either people trying to increase the prices on you or people going, oh, you're not really doing that, or I don't want you to do that, but you need social media. How do you deal with that? You try and raise funding and you have this. So it's the same issues everywhere. And like, with what's going on in Gary, I think it would be really good to have a once a fortnight, once every 2 weeks kind of
yeah.
Zoomy kind of thing.
Yeah, let us know, keep us updated, because yeah, I think
Well,
it's not, I think I'm speaking for the community that we do need this more often. So yeah, and thank you so much for the inspiration.
oh, thank you for coming along, and it gives me a lot. Sometimes you think you're just, you're in your own little world and you're doing your own little thing, not very well. It's great when you hear other people that's interested in it. So thank you.
Yeah,
Dax,
you're touching our lives, so thank you.
thank you so much for joining us, Dax. You've made a name for yourself, and you've made a mark on the landscape for the community, and you've done outstanding. That's apparent just by all the people on the call that know you today.
Well, I want to say something about that. So one thing is, I joined Pace's community and then I joined Owners Club. And Pace in Owners Club, it's like do social media. Like I was off Facebook for 7 years. I hated the whole privacy thing and I hated the whole social media thing. And I just did what I was told, which is very, very rare. I just did what I was told. And it's really paid off. That's one thing. The other thing that you were saying earlier, I hope people get this analogy and I don't sound like a weirdo, but you were saying like partner up and commit to people. I'm about to commit to 2 deals this week. They're to do with my active income. So small town revitalization is long-term stuff.
Yeah.
You need other on the side. Um, one of which is a sub 2 student that we've been connected with. I went and bought a car from him. We talk every week. He found me a sub 2 deal. We're JVing on it. The other one is another sub 2 student. I was like, I don't know how to. I can't raise money on that front and on this front. So I JV'd with her, another sub 2 student that I've spent loads of time with. And I was thinking about this. I don't know if this is going to sound weird, but hey, do you remember when you were like 13, 14 and you were about to have your first kiss with the first boy or girl that you were with? And there was that awkward moment of who's going to lean in first? Who's going to make this real? And I don't remember all the ones where nobody ever leaned in and you sort of walked away, but you always remember like, oh yes, I remember that moment where I was the one that had moved that 1 millimeter so that we were going to make a deal. And that's what I found it's like in real estate. You can keep like not going in for the kiss, or you can just go, you know what? Life's too short to just evaluate every risk and everything. You do all the right things. You need connect with people so that you can trust them enough and then make that move. Because otherwise you'll be sitting there in your office just sort of, rereading books. And I think that's what's been amazing about this community. And that's why I finally buy all this social media stuff, because I have nowhere to run to. I can come up, but you can sort of trust me because you can see almost everything that I do on social media, and I'm very trackable. And that's why we do social media. And eventually that leads to you meeting people in person, and that eventually leads to you doing deals together. Doing deals means money exchange.
Oh yeah.
So that's a thing. So I love what you're doing here, JJ, because it's the natural conclusion to why we've got a community.
Well, and you know what you're talking about now just touches on one of my favorite sayings is networking, and being on a Zoom call is networking. We put our phone number up, we put the location for where we live, but networking done right leads to visibility. Visibility acquired properly leads to opportunity. And
Yeah.
we all want the exact same opportunity is to build relationships with successful people that will help us. And again, it goes back to being visible. You're using social media, your name is out there, people know you, people that you don't know you, and because
Exactly. There's
you're
nothing
Anne
different.
McNamara.
Yeah, and there's nothing different about me except for doing what I was told to do.
Yeah.
I just did the socials. I turned up to the things. I've only been doing this for a year and I found it gruesome. It doesn't come naturally. And it's paid off. So now it comes more naturally because I'm like, the more I put out, the more I attract.
Well, and to that, just let me say that whatever you're doing, if you're on the project, if you've got an Instagram video, if you've done something on YouTube, if someone's interviewed you on their platform, share everything you're doing to my group
Okay.
and let all 5,000 people know exactly what you're up to because everyone in my group, as you can tell from what we talked about before the recording today, they're all proactive.
Yeah.
They're all proactive in learning how to network and learning how to help one another by introducing people to other people. That's what, not here to talk about my group, but that's what my group does.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is actually building and it's looking for people that we like.
Yeah.
My conversation with you, I'm an Anne McNamara fan. I freaking love you. And it's about finding people that we resonate with because that's how we're going to find people that help us.
Yeah.
You are no different today than you were yesterday or the day before that or the day before that, but we'll meet people that just, we seem to vibe with them. And
Yeah.
and we all don't vibe with everybody, but that's okay. And
Exactly.
that's okay.
Yeah, and I think it takes some practice to sort of just say what it is that you want. Say what it is that is important to you. And you always, well, I don't know, I can't speak for everyone, but I felt a real um numpty, a real Egypt, sort of talking about small towns. I didn't even know, like, the word I use is regeneration. Nobody's heard of that word. People are saying, why are you using $10 words? Like, I don't know what else to call it. It's not fixing and flipping because it's not flipping.
Yeah.
You feel like you're, what am I talking about? Like, why am I saying this? But what's amazing about this community is somebody had to, pad split, I'm sure felt the same. Everybody doing anything news, it feels like that. So you're right to do it. You're right to promote Gary, Indiana. You're right to have faith in that. Um, as long as you just keep on owning it and you keep on stepping into it. And that's the bit where you feel a bit lonely and isolated. And that's why it's amazing until it becomes the norm. And then everyone's like, oh, yeah, yeah, I was interested in that years ago. And I think that's why this community is so powerful.
As you say, the real estate investment community today is due to social media, people like Pace Morby, people stressing relationship and community, and as I say all the time, really getting to know one another. Not chase a deal, but chase a relationship. But there's a lot of opportunity out there, and with all the good people that are on the landscape, the potential for partnerships of success is also very positive. And I've got two last questions for you before we close out. One, if people are watching on YouTube weeks and months down the line and they want to connect with you, they've got a question, they're curious about, revitalizing small towns. What's the best way to reach you? Is it a website, email, Calendly, Google Voice, Instagram, Facebook? What's the best way? If people want to reach out to you later, what's the best way for people to connect with you?
Insta or Facebook, which is Anne McNamara 007, and email, which is Anne, ANNE, at moxiemoves.us.
And again, this is Anne's Facebook page, guys, Anne McNamara. Feel free to message her. And for anyone, whether you're in the group or watching on YouTube, if you're going to send Anne a friend request, send a message, introduce yourself, say who you are, where you're from, how you know her, what group you're with, provide your phone number if you're going to ask for hers. My last question for you, Ann. I talk about networking all the time, and of course, we've talked about relationships here. There are real estate groups such as Astro, Sub2, many over 50 to 100 that I know of. There are new investors coming to real estate investment education communities like Sub2 every day. Some are brand new to real estate investment, some are decades of experience, but oftentimes they're now looking and being introduced to utilizing social media for networking for their business, quite often for the very first time. In your experience with what you've been doing and recognized for and working with other people, how important is networking via social media to the success of the new real estate investor today?
It is essential. It is almost impossible to do it without it. Maybe if you get to the level of a huge celeb, you don't need social media, but for the rest of us, it's huge. And it's really huge to be, I don't mean like vulnerable, but don't try and be too polished. I've done the sort of polished stuff, but I increasingly do this is me, this is what I don't know what I'm doing, this is what I just cracked, this is what people want to see, the journey. And you know what's really interesting? It's actually more about you than them. When you put that out and you go, I've kind of come to recognize that they talk about shame being the lowest human emotion. It's like the bottom of the pile, Brené Brown and Power versus Force, all that stuff. Do any reading on it? And I realized how much time I was carrying shame. Like, I'm ashamed that I didn't really know how bad the structural issues were with that last building. I was ashamed that I really didn't read that assignment contract very well. And you just kind of you're going to go nowhere with shame. And one of the fast tracks out of it is to just talk about it. You talk about it, it kills it. Talk about it in social media, it kills it, and it kills it for other people. So that's what I've started to use social media for now. It's like, oh, I feel this horrible shame thing. Let's see if we can talk about it.
There you go.
Because yeah, and that's what aligns. You don't have to talk about your childhood issues unless you want to. You can just talk about, I made another mistake. Why do I keep making mistakes? And increasingly, that's what I'm going to be talking about. How crap I am at everything.
Well, and the key part with social media, we're going to be interacting with others, and the things we're doing and the qualities make us will resonate with others. And as we
Yeah.
put ourselves out there, we will resonate with others, and those are the people that are going to want to work with us,
Yeah.
by making ourselves visible. And I want to thank you so much for being on today. If you guys are watching on YouTube right now, please like Ann's video. Please, in the comment section, put your comments, your takeaways, the things you found most informative. If I can improve what I'm doing in any way, please put that in the comment section. Again, if you want to connect with Ann, it's going to be off her Facebook page, message her on Facebook, and that is Anne McNamara. And this is her Facebook page. And then if you want to, connect with me and join my group and network with us and learn how to network, please scan the turquoise QR code here. Takes you to my website. Click the register now button. If you want to follow more about what we're doing on YouTube and see all the upcoming guest speakers and ones from the past, please feel free to scan the purple QR code and subscribe for my YouTube channel, Flipside Up with JJ. We've got a lot of good speakers, but I'll tell you, we've had a lot of interaction today, and we had a good number of people on the call. And I just saw little pens flying constantly taking notes in the background. So I really want to thank you. Hey, if you guys are on the call right now, don't go away. We have a couple questions people still want to ask. We're going to hit you guys first. If you're watching on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, social medias, follow Anne McNamara. She is tearing it up, and you'll find me out here too. And we'll see everybody in social media world, Instagram, Facebook. We'll see them on the internet, and we're good for now, right?
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate your time today. Really, really great to meet you all.
And you guys on the call, hang on, because we're going to get more of Anne. Everybody
Thank
else,
you, Anne.
thanks for joining us.